The funny thing about that photo, though, is that they actually both still look the same. So
look at the lettuce. There's some good lettuce on there.
Both of them got the lettuce. All right, anyway, so Drew Brees, 4-2 in his career against Tom Brady, including the win earlier this year. Brees, just one of 13 QBs to face Brady at least 6 times. He's the only one of that group with a winning record. So Brady's been pressured at the lowest rate in the NFL this season. He's struggled, though, when opposing defenses have managed to get to him. He ranks among the worst in QBR and completion rate in the NFL when under duress. Also has overthrown or underthrown his receiver 45% of those times and of those plays. So, Keith, with the addition of AB, there's a lot of these great weapons on this offense for Tom Brady. But what is the Achilles heel for this game for the Saints?
I'm glad you said this game.
You really wanted me to say that.
I wanted you to make sure it's this game and not the season. I think you start with the quarterback. You have to start with the quarterback because if anything, you cut the head off the quarterback. You go get him. And Cameron Jordan and Marcus Brown, and if you can get Marcus Davenport to start to come to play, come to the party, that's how you get quarterbacks off their mark, Dan. You apply pressure. You talk about the weapons. If you decide, okay, I'm going to take Mike Evans out, well, you've left him with how many more weapons to go to?
Yeah.
Or I'm going to take AB out. Well, I can go to Mike Evans, or I can go to Gronkowski, Fournette. So what you do is you go and get the quarterback. And if you look at any teams that ever beat Tom Brady, it's always getting after him, applying pressure to him, getting him off his mark, not allowing him to step up in the pocket. You push the pressure in his lap and he'll fold.
Let me just really quickly reiterate. So Keyshawn Johnson is saying that the Achilles heel for the Bucs in this game is Tom Brady.
Not the season.
Okay.
I strongly disagree with that, just so we're clear. Listen, like if you watch this Saints defense, there's 2 things that stand out that you can attack. One, middle of the field. They really struggle covering the tight ends, especially with their linebackers. And then they're always going to give you the chance to take a deep ball shot downfield. Like there's always a blown coverage somewhere and whatnot. And then 2 things that Tampa Bay has done well offensively this year is work the middle of the field. Tom is exponentially better working the slot receiver, so to speak, and they've decided to start taking more shots downfield. So, listen, I don't necessarily see that this is going to be the weakness of this football team. Their offensive line.
But the question is Achilles heel. If you get after Tom Brady, who's he going to throw the ball to, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like if you get after any quarterback ever, surely, but
if you take away some of his other weapons, like I just said, you take Mike Evans away,
right?
You leave Tom Brady standing tall in the pocket. He'll kilt you, K-I-L-T. He'll get you.
The only thing that I would say, Key, is like, I know that sounds great. It's so hard to do.
What does Chicago do?
Well, because Chicago can rush with 4. Chicago's got the best 4-man rush and keep coverage. New Orleans doesn't have that.
But wherever the pressure comes from, that's all that matters.
You're right. Like, if you can do that, awesome. I just don't think the Saints can do that.
Sound like you picking the Bucs to me, man.
Well, we'll find out maybe tomorrow or the next day. Either way, on the flip side, oh yeah, you're not on the show tomorrow. Sorry, Dan. On the flip side of this game, the Saints have been without Michael Thomas since week 1. Adam, what's his status looking like for this game?
Laura, he was limited at practice today with that nagging ankle injury, hamstring injury, but Sean Payton, the Saints coach, was talking about both Emmanuel Sanders, who's been out due to the virus, and Michael Thomas, and said he was excited to have both of them back, indicating that Thomas looks like he is on track to play for the 2nd time this season on Sunday night against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Also should add that Drew Brees was throwing off to the side today, was limited there at practice, but I think the Saints organization is one of optimism, and that as tough as Drew Brees is, he'll be out there on Sunday night against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I don't know anything, Adam.
Oh, come on, Keith.
I have no idea, but I know one thing. Getting him back on the field certainly is going to be a big boost. Tampa Bay lost to New Orleans the first game of the year. Mikey didn't do much. There's no question about it, but you can't tell me that Drew Brees is not missing his favorite target. He threw the ball to the dude 149 times last year. So you're going to tell me that they don't miss him despite winning games? I mean, he's going to be a big boost for them regardless. I think having him on the field changes a lot with that offense.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, that would be Key's nephew.
Oh, I said Mikey,
Thomas.
my bad.
It's okay. Marcus, I like when you do that. Marcus, if the Saints win this game, does it completely change the narrative around this division?
Yeah, it does. First of all, they'll be up 2-0 on Tampa after week 1. And then, 2, you look at the Saints play, like watching their games and actually going back and reevaluating the Saints have played everybody tight. I think they've been in overtime twice. It hadn't been really any impressive wins when it comes to what we had grown accustomed to the New Orleans Saints doing to people. The offensive firepower, obviously, without Michael Thomas, hasn't been the same. We've become enamored with how good Alvin Kamara has been in these games, and he's really been the catalyst, along with Jared Cook and a few plays from Tyquan Smith. But I also want to give him credit, because most of the time when you lose a guy like Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, who you brought in to be a complement piece, you don't end up with a record at 5-2. And the Saints have played some real teams up until this point. But now you get Tampa, who understands themselves a lot better than week one as well. So the New Orleans Saints, they know if you look on paper, Tampa has the most talent in this game. If you look at the games when Tampa has been dominant and New Orleans has been dominant, Tampa looks like the better football team. So I think this will boost not only how the Saints feel about themselves, but then we have to come on here next week and have a different conversation about if the Saints are back in the conversation for being a Super Bowl contender. Because I think if you ask anybody right now, even in despite of a 5-2 record and winning some games closely and beating Chicago, do you think the Saints can make a deep playoff run and go to the Super Bowl? I think that answer would be an overwhelming no.
Well,
but if they get this win against Tampa and playing if Tampa is playing at their level and New Orleans plays at the elite level and they win this game, then we got to reshape how we talk about the New Orleans Saints going forward.
Yeah, listen, if they beat a team that we're talking about with the Buccaneers of being one of the best teams in the NFL, Dan, I don't know why you're shaking your head.
What you shaking your head for?
New Orleans ain't winning this game. Tampa Bay's going to win this game. Easy.
Okay, well,
Okay, so it's not even a conference. All right.
I'm going to leave it alone.
I feel the same way.
Comfortably.
We'll play the tape back if you guys are
we
wrong.
can have a quiet wager on the side if y'all like. But
We don't do that on this show. Anyway, what are you talking about? All right, Drew Brees has been clutch at some times, too, which is important as well. Let's bring Adam Schefter back in here because we got new on NFL Live, some news surrounding the Chiefs. What do you got, Adam?
Well, Laura's Field Yates just reported the Chiefs star defensive tackle Chris Jones has landed on the COVID-19 list today, the reserve COVID-19 list. That means that in all probability, the Chiefs are going to be without Chris Jones when they play Sunday against the Carolina Panthers. He's used to generating a lot of pass rush for that team. The team has had a member of its training staff today come down with the virus. So obviously there's some concerns within the Chiefs organization right now about players and officials and administrators and the virus.
Dan, what do you think?
I mean, obviously, it's a big loss for that football team. He's their best defensive player. And you're going against a team that gets really creative with their run game. And Carolina's offense is efficient. So this is a dangerous game for Kansas City. Just be careful, losing Chris Jones like this and playing a team that's going to play you in a very specific way. It's interesting.
Yeah, you got to think that Joe Brady and that Carolina offense will have some things schemed up no matter what. All right, the Legion of Boom days are gone in Seattle, but can the Seahawks defense build an impressive showing on Sunday against Josh Allen and the Bills? Help may be on the way. We're talking about that. Seattle's defense next on NFL Live.
You're watching NFL.